Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and some of the questions I've been asked in the last few days, I've noticed one of them even came up in the Q&As, but I chose not to do it in the Q&A because I felt like this is a much larger topic that needed its own question. But someone had asked me, with all the new drug testing coming out, they're wanting to go back and retroactively test old urine samples going back as far as 10 years for the Olympics using the newer drug testing, and maybe retroactively ban people for failing stuff that they didn't have tests for to properly test this urine going back as far as 10 years. What do I think about this? Do I think this is a good idea? A lot of people would say, okay guys, they're just cheaters, obviously ban them, but the thing is, it actually isn't as simple as that. At the surface, it does seem like it's that simple of a topic. Well, these guys cheated, ban them. The problem is that our system is far more complex when it comes to the Olympics and sports in general than simply cheating versus not cheating, because the situation you have today, due to multiple generations of stuff that's happened in the Olympics, politically, scientifically, everything else, there is no one up there who isn't cheating, and anyone who's telling you otherwise is bullshitting you or pulling your leg. Everybody who's in the top half of the field in most sports in the Olympics is on some sort of PED that's banned. They're on something usually, if not a whole cocktail of drugs. And the problem with that is that we've created an environment to where they don't have a choice. And really the blame for that can be placed upon the United States and the Soviet Union originally back in the 1950s when they started creating chemical warfare in the Olympics. The United States created Dianabol. The Russians were using an oral testosterone derivative. And this started as early as we know as 1954. It's all been declassified. It's public record. It's all available out there for those who want to do the digging. We started creating drugs for our athletes in 1954 and made our Olympic lifters take them. Both the United States and the Russian governments made the athletes take them or they were kicked off the teams. They weren't given a choice. So we created something new there. Sports was not at that point about sportsmanship and fair play. It went back to the original purpose of sports. We originally created sports to train people for war. The original Greek Olympics were all based upon some form of training for combat. It was to simulate combat, train people for combat. Sports were a form of preparation and training for war in many regards. Today, we returned it back to that with the Olympics. We use sports as a form of warfare, to wage war against other countries like during the Cold War. We took the Cold War to the Olympics. We created a mentality of this is war, this is to how we fight other countries we are fighting with, that you as athletes are soldiers in a battle. And in war, there are no rules. You win or you die. And in this case, that meant you win at any cost. It doesn't matter. This is a war, you win. That is the mentality that we started drilling into the Olympics due to the international nature of it and the conflicts around the world. We started seeing it that way. So we created an environment already in a subculture that was not concerned with fair play. They were concerned with winning. And the amount of pressure that they put upon athletes to win in many countries really puts them in a situation to where if they have the option to cheat, they don't have a choice. They have to do whatever it takes to win. And then on top of that, we started trying to ban drugs and do all this stuff to create this fair play with drugs without really assessing properly, could we actually stop it from happening, or would just the countries with the better doctors, the better scientists, who are willing to put more money into cheating would be the ones who would get away with it over and over and over. So we really implemented a set of rules that were easy to get around. And for some countries, they were so easy to get around because of their resources, it became mind-bogglingly easy to the point where it wasn't even a challenge to stay 3 steps ahead of the drug testing. So we created rules without really properly assessing if those rules could be enforced. And so by putting those rules into play, we actually removed fair play. We made it a situation of who has better doctors, who has better scientists, who can do better mathematics. That's who gets to get away with cheating. So in a way, the way that we've done that, we've removed fair play in sports and put it in an environment to where it was all about winning, because we treated it like combat. We treated it like war. So we've created an environment to where the athletes are forced to cheat, they're encouraged to cheat, and it's easy to cheat. And if they don't cheat, they have no chance at all. And when your country is putting that sort of stress on you to win, that is not the situation you want to be in. So we've already created a situation where it has gone so far beyond even considerations of fair play that that's not even an option. Now, to make matters worse, we try to pretend like the reason this stuff is put into place is for the health of the athletes, so that the athletes don't have to feel forced to use drugs in order to win that could harm their health. The problem is because of the environment that we've already created with it, with the viewpoints and the ease of beating most of the drug testing, they don't have a choice already. Even with us having them banned, they still really have to use drugs. We didn't remove that pressure from them. We didn't remove that necessity. What we actually did was create a situation where we limited the amount of drugs they have available that will help with each performance element that could still beat the test. So what we've actually done with the drug testing in place, we've actually made it harder for the athletes to stay healthy. And here's what I mean. Let's say the athletes have 8 different drugs available that can help raise hemocrite levels, to get the red blood cell count up, to get more endurance. And they have 6 available that will improve bone density so that they're less likely to get bone fractures from different types of jarring and stuff in training, and so they heal faster from those things. But let's say out of those 12 drugs or so available, or 20 drugs we have available for those 2 different options, only 3 of them can beat the drug testing easily. And out of them, maybe the 3 that can beat the drug testing are more harmful than some of the others to their health. They're forced to use the drugs that are going to let them to be competitive without respect to how much it harms their health, how much it might elevate their liver enzymes, how much it might mess up their HDL cholesterol, what sort of other negative effects it might have in their body. They have to consider first and foremost, how easily will that drug go through the testing. If we lift the bans, we remove the drug testing, I don't think we're going to see a big change in the numbers. I don't think people are going to start breaking records right and left, because they still have access to all the drugs now to give them all the performance elements they need. And at a certain threshold, a lot of these drugs start going the other direction. They're not going to use more drugs, because a lot of these drugs stop giving benefits to, say, their endurance, and can start reversing it the other direction if they go too high in the dose. So it's not about that they could just use more drugs and more drugs. It's the case of they would have the option out of, say, the 6 drugs on their list to give a certain effect of using the least toxic one, the least harmful one to their body, instead of only looking at, will this one beat the drug testing? Does it matter if it's the second most toxic if it'll beat the test every time? So by eliminating the drug testing, what you would actually see is less risk to the health of the athletes, because the situation we have now, they have to use the drugs either way to be competitive. It's not even an issue of cheating anymore. It's an issue of, can you even be on the playing field without them anymore? And if that's the case, what we're doing, if we're going back to and retroactively banning people for using the drugs that we can suddenly catch, we're just doing a coin flip and just catching people on bad luck, when the people that they beat and we still leave in there were still on drugs themselves. We just didn't catch them. So if you really want to make it fair play in sports, you really want to make it safer for the athletes, remove all the restrictions and let the athletes have the choice of using the least harmful and least toxic drugs, and in some cases completely harmless drugs, if that's what they have available to get the same performance enhancement and benefits that they want. Because the way we do it now, we hit people based on bad luck, having less money for better doctors or better scientists, and we don't give them the options of using the least toxic drugs. We only give them the options of using the drugs that will beat the drug testing, so they can still be competitive and even be on the field without any consideration for if it harms them or not. Because the unfortunate nature of the way sports have gone and have always been, they're going to have to cheat if they have the option available, because everyone else is going to do the same thing. So that's how you get fair play back in sports. Remove the restrictions, remove the drug testing, remove the ban on drugs completely, and let athletes use whatever they want and do with their bodies as they please, and do whatever it takes for them to win, and give them the option of using the least toxic, least harmful stuff. That's just my opinion on it though, guys. You're all entitled to your own, but someone asked me how I felt about it, so there you have it. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.